Welcome back, y'all. Another quick break here between games 2 and 3, but this is the ace match. It's all on the line. Loser goes home empty-handed in the opening round here of the World Esports Championship. Aero Gaming versus Invasion Esports. I'm Sayori. With me remotely is Blitz. Always pumped to see a Game 3 in a best-of-3 series, my friend, but who are your rares on after seeing these first two games?
It's Blaze, by the way.
What did I say? Did I say Blitz?
Yes.
Fuck.
Emphatically.
Blaze. Oh, it's Blaze. I'm so sorry. I said I was going to do it, man, but I've been pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. So this one, for all the marbles, I have to choose between these two. I don't know. FCFC, like, I've been impressed so many times in the past by a support play, but that last Chen game, he made one awesome play, and you need a lot more than that to really define the game. So, DDZ, they're banning his Tinker, they're banning his Invoker. I think still it's going to be enough for them to take it away. Like, he's shown so much versatility, and obviously they've got drafts that they're comfortable with, picking up heroes like Void continuously. I think Aero can finish it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a first pick Razor here in this game, and Invasion spent a lot of time thinking about their second pick. They were eager to grab the Shadow Shaman, and they burned a fair bit of their reserve time and eventually settled on the Watermelon. Big old tide there. Invasion, once again, 3 for 3. Tinker, Invoker, third and fourth bans. Are we going to see it again, Blaze? I think so.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see any... Unless they want to substitute Meepo for Invoker, if they've suddenly become more afraid of that. But
it's possible. That Meepo was pretty impressive last game. And this feels a little bit like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I don't know. Which would you ban here, the Meepo or the Invoker?
I think I would ban the Invoker and then consider the Meepo fifth pick for when I'm drafting. So maybe pick up like an Earthshaker or something just as a hero that's already amazing in his own right, but one that can also deal with the Meepo.
Yeah, I think that's probably the safe bet. The DDZ Invoker is tried and true. Everyone knows about it, and it synergizes so well with the Void. Meepo doesn't synergize with Void quite as well as the Invoker, even though it's still a very scary hero to have on the field in the hands of a player like DDZ. So we'll see if Invasion take heed to the latter portion of your advice with something like an Earthshaker or a Lich. Those are the two heroes that come to mind that work particularly well against the Meepo.
So they're going to pick up to round out their lineup here, always with the push emphasis, but the Nature's Prophet didn't really work out for Ghost last game so well. I mean, obviously the Tidehunter is much more his type of hero, so we're probably just going to see him pick that up, but I don't know. It's just like if they want to bring towers down, are they going to try another round in the Radiant jungle, which is a little bit easier for the Chen, or are they going to do something completely different to deal with this Razor Void? I think burst damage is pretty important here, so things like the early Test of Faith would be good, but I don't know. I think that if they mess up too many ganks, it's going to be problematic, and they see the Furion coming, they answer back with the Mirana, and this draft is well underway.
Yeah, not a moment's hesitation there with the Priestess of the Moon. Aero know what they want, and they shall have it. It could be a potential Bane or Shadow Demon fourth pick for Aero Gaming. Easy Aero setups. We haven't seen any Razor yet this series either. He's been banned out pretty steadily. I'm kind of curious about the Bristleback second ban from Aero. That's a hero you don't often see first or second banned in our current meta.
5 seconds
yeah, but
remaining.
Invasion uses it quite effectively. It's more of a team-based ban. The fact that ADTR and Ghost have both played amazing Bristleback games that I've personally seen, I think it is a relevant ban. I don't know if it's like, you have to first ban it or you're screwed, but they know what they don't want to go up against, and they seem pretty comfortable with so far how this draft has progressed. They get the ban of the Viper, too. Viper's a hero that they've been picking up over and over, and that prioritizes the Rost and the Tide. They will not get the Viper this time around.
Yep, that's for sure. And once again, we see Alchemist making a showing here in this series. We saw him, I think it was game 1, we saw Alchemist in that super tanky lineup. And it worked pretty well in the context of that game. But we'll see how the Alchemist works. What do you think about Alchemist right now, Blaze? Some teams still run him a little bit here and there, but he's fallen off quite a bit.
Yeah, at first he was overpowered, then he got nerfed, and then he was extremely overrated, and I didn't like seeing him at all. But he's grown back on me again. I think that he has a lot of relevancy. The way he can delay push with his acid spray, the fact that he is a support that just won't die. He's essentially plays the role set of a Wraith King, and the one thing is I always try to look at them and see what one brings over the other. I think that Wraith King is a little bit superior, but all the same, Alchemist is a very strong individual.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and one of the great things about Alchemist is if the game goes on long enough, if he starts out as a position 4, towards the end of the game, he can start to play that kind of tertiary carry role once the Grievel's Greed kicks in and he gets a couple of those core items under his belt. A level 16 Alchemist is always something to fear because of that crazy regeneration and crazy base attack speed. But Arrow Gaming with the Lich, the all-blue team here, as they get some more damage to dump into the Chronosphere.
Reserve time.
Yeah, we'll see how this plays itself out. The one thing that I don't like about the Alchemist is how easy he dies without Chemical Rage. If he gets caught by an arrow or a Chronosphere, like, he is foreshottable in a supportive sense, but the Chemical Rage obviously nullifies that. Whereas with the Wraith King, you have the Reincarnation, so you come back up and no harm, no foul. But I don't know, they're comfortable with the Alchemist. They used it to great effect, and certainly a hero like Shadow Shaman can set up a full concoction. So we'll see some early kills coming out from them. At least that's their initial endeavor. But we'll have to see the carry pickup that will go alongside them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
10 seconds remaining.
So, Invasion, what are we looking at here?
5 seconds remaining.
I just don't know. What would work well with this draft? I guess we'll see in a few seconds.
Time.
Maybe a Death Prophet. Okay. So they go for some serious push here.
Yeah. So Safe Lane Death Prophet has been used quite a bit recently, and it's quite effective. But in this case, they still have the mid open if they want to run, like, hey, carry Alchemist and a support Tide. I'm not a fan of support Tide in any capacity, but I mean, Ghost is competent on both the Furion and the Tide, and they can make things work. So there's like 3 different ways you can take the lineup, and it just really depends on what you want to safe lane, essentially. If you want to safe lane farm the Alchemist, then you're going to have the support Tide. If you want to safe lane farm the Furion, then you've got Tide and DP in the offlane. I think that's the one I prefer the most, but a safe lane DP isn't bad either.
Yeah, safe lane DP can be pretty solid as long as your supports can roam around and preferably gank the other lanes and create some space for her in the early minutes, give her a little edge, and then let her get some of that solo experience, because she does not really shine in that like tri-lane on tri-lane environment, which I don't think we'll see here, but it could work out pretty well. Overall, a fairly greedy draft from Invasion, I think, because even Shadow Shaman is your position 5. He's still a support that needs some experience and needs at least a little bit of farm to be really effective. At the very least, he needs level 6 nice and early, but Arrow will settle on the Clockwork for Zhang Zai here, headed to the offlane.
Yeah, and that's just going to be a Furion Hunter, tried and true. Like, you can stay on the Shadow Shaman and mess with him, prevent shackles and stuff as well. But if you can close the distance on the Natured Prophet, that's where the money's at. That's where you can just get that easy kill. He can't TP away. He can't avoid it. And obviously, he's going to have detection early if there's any invis on the field. So I like the pickup in general, because not only does it accomplish that, but it sets up so many other spells. You set up the Static Link, the Arrow, and potentially the Chain Frost in so many amazing ways. So I think if Zhang Zai can just get a couple of amazing hooks into cogs, they could absolutely run through this lineup.
Yeah, so it will be DDZ here on the Faceless Void. Pretty much assuredly headed towards the mid lane. That's, again, a little bit different.
Swap? I don't know.
Wow.
I don't feel great about that. Compared, like, DXB played a perfectly fine Void last time around, so I think that I would prefer DDZ on the Razor. Oh, there we go. See, we see swaps come through. First, Zhang Zai is going to be picking up... Well, even that seems a little awkward, because Zhang Zai's their offlaner. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, DDZ is still on the Void. And again, looking at the stats here, he's played Void once in a competitive game on record this year, and it was in the Bounty Hunter Asia series about 2 months ago. So Arrow's been, they've been pretty experimental this series. A lot of bands have gone sort of towards DDZ, and he's been forced to do things a little bit differently than I'm sure he's accustomed to.
Yeah, it's twofold as far as the versatility they've been showing here. It's the bans against DDZ, as well as the fact that they're still running that duo of stand-ins. Like, DXB is a great offlane player, and he has the most experience in that role, but they're very comfortable with Zhang Zai in that position. So they've had to kind of decide whose skill set do they want to use the most. But if you have to have one taken out of his comfort zone, I would say Zhang Zai is probably one of the better players for that. He started out playing support, transitioned insanely quickly, like within a week, over to the offlane and started winning games with it against top-tier teams. And now playing the carry role set, I'd say he's pretty confident.
Yeah. All right, well, this is the Game 3. Once again, guys, our second best of 3 of the night, the ace match, elimination on the line. Let's introduce some rosters. On the Dire side, we've got Team Arrow. Stand-in DXB on the Clockwork here, headed to the bottom lane. MTR on the support Lich will be roaming around a bit, but starts off with a deny on the mid lane. DDZ solo mid on the Faceless Void. Mosin, this time on the support Priestess of the Moon Mirana. And Zhang Zai, as we've already mentioned, solo safe lane on the Razor. Could end up being a safe lane, tri-lane. We'll see where the supports end up, but for now it will be a farming Razor up here in the
The
top.
battle begins.
Oh, looking over at the side of Invasion, we're going to be seeing on the off lane here, it's going to be ADTR on the Tidehunter, picking up a Ring of Protection and Clarity. So we're not sure if he's going to be running in a farming role set, but it looks like it is going to be a core Tide supported by a support Alchemist. So FCFC is going to be on the Alch, and the Shadow Shaman is, of course, played by OK or Calm DTF. So with that, we do have Ghost down on the safe lane. Boots first, Nature's Prophet going up against the Clockwork, a great starting item to really avoid those close encounters. And of course, on the mid, we do have Ketchik on the Death Prophet.
Close encounters of a Clockwork kind.
Definitely. Awesome.
Oh, boy. So, all right. Keshik on the Death Prophet in the mid lane up against DDZ's Faceless Void. This is
Mosin getting caught out here. Has the leap, but will it be enough here? Concoction will still hit him, but he is across the tree line. Very, very close call.
Maybe a neutral deny. 28 hit points. Nope, he'll be okay.
And in the mid, Ketchigamba's taking some big hits here too. The Lich doesn't have Frost Blast. He's just going to be pulling back the wave constantly. So it is going to be a 2 versus 1, which Lich is probably one of the best supports to put into a duo. Like, he'll continuously sap away from Death Prophet's experience and gold gains with that sacrifice. And in fact, supplement DDZ's experience income if they position it right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So already off to a nice aggressive start here, Invasion, with this aggro try, almost securing first blood. Razor really not able to find much for him here, though. He's 0-0. Great lane control coming out of Invasion, as Razor doesn't want to poke too far forward at fear of getting shut down, and I think that's an appropriate thing to be afraid of. Even Tide grabbing an early point in Gush. So they are hungry for blood and ready to be aggressive up in the top lane.
Although the leap skilling was necessary to avoid the first blood, it's actually very detrimental to Mosin's progression as a support. He's 0 experience 2 minutes in the game, and they have no threat of arrow. They know he's skilled leap, so we look at like the Death Prophet, there's no pressure there to get arrowed or anything like that. Mosin, he would love to contribute to this, throw out an arrow right now, but it's just not going to happen. He had to choose that skill to survive, but it's going to be a long time before he actually gets to actually make an impact on the game. In fact, choose the leap again, maybe not enough. Taking too much damage here.
Wow, that's a long duration unstable concoction, and one more auto attack ought to do it. Can they get there in time? He's quite speedy, slightly faster than the Tide, and he'll give up. They'll turn an about face. Maybe Ross can come in. One auto attack is enough, and OK will secure the first blood. Mosin getting very greedy there as he stutter steps back. OK may pay for it with his life, though. Static Link sucking all that damage, and they will get some vengeance. Mirana TPs to the tower, and Mosin now almost level 2, so at least gets something out of it.
Yeah, but Razor's now out of mana. He didn't get the kill Mirana did, and Mosin, he's happy to get the experience, but I don't think he needed the gold. So in this position, like, he's got arrows. They need to make up for lost ground, because so far the lane has been at a loss. He does cancel half a salve and a clarity. That's pretty nice for Mosin here, even looking for FCFC's clarity. But has to be careful his positioning, as that leap is a long cooldown.
Yeah, it sure does at level 1.
Oh, mid.
30 seconds. I was looking at that, and then I took off of it because I thought they were all going to survive. But Nature's Prophet TPs in and joins the party, and they secure a kill onto the Lich. Arrow were actually the aggressors there, and Ketchik just threw out a couple of Crypt Swarms, and that's the power of the early Nature's Prophet, the global presence. He also has an Orb of Venom for that little bit of extra damage as well.
Yeah, the thing is, between the two heroes, Faceless Void and Lich, there's no Quelling Lid, there's no Tangos, so that Sprout is essentially a 3-second root, and that is quite impressive for a hero that can do so much damage over the course of several seconds. The Death Prophet, with only 6 seconds on Crypt Swarm, 2 or 3 of those, and you're gone. So that's a good combo here, giving a 2-1 advantage for Invasion in this early stage.
And a double damage rune will spawn at the top position. OK on the Shadow Shaman will pick it up. And he has his second point, but actually hasn't skilled it up quite yet. Only level 2. DDZ farming quite well in this Faceless Void. He is 20-6 compared to the 16-1 Death Prophet. So, of course, he has had the Lich with him, and that does make a big difference. Less creeps for the Death Prophet to potentially land. But DDZ still the last hit leader, and a good place to be as a solo mid Faceless Void. Or a dual lane Faceless Void, rather.
Down bottom, I think DXB is going to go down here. There's just a great flank movement coming in. The smoke, Alchemist going to be charging the stun after they get the shackles here. DXB will get some damage onto Ghost, but just too far away. It's not going to be enough.
Yeah, there's the Unstable Concoction, Acid Spray for good measure, and Nature's Prophet will secure a kill onto the Clockwork. So Invasion off to a good start at the 5-minute mark. In the lead, 3-1, already with just about 1,000 gold lead, though Arrow keeping it steady with the experience.
So in this position now, they can just rotate it around. ADTR can sit here as an offlane Tidehunter perfectly fine, and the supports can keep roaming, getting kills on mid, getting kills on bottom. And when you think about what can actually interrupt the channel defect of Shadow Shaman Shackle, there's honestly not that much. If you're out of range of the battery assault, if you're not getting arrowed, then they really don't have anything until the Chain Frost comes online, and even then, not a spell you want to commit just to cancel one little spell.
Yeah, Chain Frost and Time Lock, two abilities that one you don't really want to use for that, and the other RNG based that you don't really want to have to count on to interrupt Shackles. So, yeah, you're definitely right about that. Lich still just hanging out in the mid lane, making Void's life that much easier, but Ketchik is closing the gap. Only trailing by 4 CS is pretty impressive, given there's a Lich that's been in his lane this entire game. All Nature's Prophet in the safe lane has found a lot of farm as well. Now 31 last hits under his belt, has picked up his phase boots now, and already 1,200 gold in savings. And now that Clockwork has taken a tumble, he's being zoned out a little more. Close to level 6, so perhaps once he grabs the hookshot, we'll see him move around and be a bit more active, just about 1 creep kill away.
Yeah, but if he leaves this lane, Ghost is just going to run all over this tower. You look at this huge creep wave here, and even the rank 2 Rocket Flare is barely putting a dent into it. So the tower's going to take some chip damage here, and Nature Prophet is free to move wherever he wishes. If he wants to TP and help out in the mid lane here, they're in a good position for that, or if he wants to keep on pushing and try to get that early gold for the team, Invasion is in the driver's seat here.
Yeah, and they are trying to set up a gank on the mid lane. Alchemist on the high ground, even Nature's Prophet now TPing in. It is a 4 versus 2 as they get ready to engage. There is an Exorcism available as well as a Haste Rune in the bottle of Ketchik. So all they need is a decent initiation here, and DP can chase them into oblivion if need be. They could also just settle for a tower kill here. No wards on the roster yet, but Exorcism could be enough. Force out the glyphs straight away as the Treants tank the tower shots. DDZ is now level 6, so he has the Chronosphere available. And Arrow could potentially make a hold right here as the rest of them rotate over as well. Tower down to about half health, but with that, Invasion will reset and wait for another creep wave. Not too much time left on Exorcism, and I think they may just be happy with half damage on a tower here at the 7.5-minute mark.
Yep. Clockwork just now hitting level 7. He gets a couple of rank 3 Rocket Flares onto the wave, so Death Prophet doesn't have anything to tank for her, and that Ice Armor as well, helping a lot against that physical spirit damage from the Exorcism. So they will keep it up. Pretty important, but DDZ taking some huge hits here.
Yep, no silence on the Death Prophet, but they don't need it. The Shackle's there. They have a Ravage as well. It's a dead, faceless Void. TP in from Zhang Zai, looking for vengeance onto the Tide. He'll survive for now. Static Link will get broken. And they also find a kill on the Licher on the backside. Crypt Swarm picked him off. And even Ghost TPing in, looking for the Razor. Unfortunately, jukes the wrong way. And Zhang Zai will survive. Small stroke of luck. Ghost thought he went up, and he went down. However, can they get the tower out of this? Treants come down? I don't think so.
No, it doesn't look like it. They're going to be able to regroup and hold this position here, but I mean, that Lich didn't even need to die. I'm not sure about MTR's positioning there, but he was walking around in Acid Spray. He got hit by a Crypt Swarm unnecessarily. That was quite unfortunate. Just good usage of the early Ravage, and Invasion taking a huge early lead here. Now, they still don't have like the Shadow Shaman wards to really cement that advantage with hard tower kills, but even still, Arrow, they're playing from behind, and they have to be very cautious about how they move about the map.
Yep. It's only a 2,000 gold lead for Invasion, but they don't have any towers. That's what makes it so particularly scary. They have a lot of pushing power, and the pushing hasn't even really begun to commence. So once that starts, that gold lead is really going to skyrocket. DDZ sitting on brown boots, and there you go. Upgrades it to the treads. Wasn't sure if he was pulling up for a Midas or working on the upgraded boots, but he'll answer that question for us. The Dire support's looking pretty darn poor right now. Oh, we'll hold that thought as hookshot in onto the Alchemist. DXB, very aggressive positioning here. Alchemist manages to get off a concoction before he falls, and that'll be enough to secure the kill onto the Lich. But Alchemist falls before the fight ends. DDZ with a Chronosphere available, won't use it as he time walks back to safety.
And meanwhile, in mid lane, Kishik Imba is able to utilize that Exorcism round 2 to bring down the tier 1 tower, and they still have tons of push potential to go on with the Treants on this bot lane. Rocket Flare will harass it back, and actually Void's going to go in.
Yep, Chronosphere comes out, Gush to try and slow him down, but no Ravage. Nothing the Tide can do to keep his Shadow Shaman buddy alive as Mirana snipes him with a long-range, level 3 Sacred Arrow. ADTR getting more aggressive here. Gush onto DDZ. Out comes the Sprout, and the stun from Alchemist as well. They'll dive the tower, silence from DP, but they just don't have the damage. Void too elusive. Instead, they'll settle for the tower as the tier 1 takes some pretty hefty pressure. Oh, Tide, be a little careful there, buddy. Plasma Field doing a lot of damage. Arrow hits Keshik. And say goodbye to your damage, but Zhang Zai, he'll fall as the Ravage flies through. DXB, now the target of choice. Sprout comes out onto him, as does a Silence. He gets down some power cogs, but the ranged heroes will just click him down. And it'll be a 2-for-0 exchange, and Invasion walk away with the tower.
Yeah, I was quite surprised with the usage of that Chronosphere there. Like, yes, it did net them the kill on the Shadow Shaman, no problem at all, but was it really worth it in the long run? They lose the tower, they lose their lives because they have no teamfight utility. Now, MTR gonna get invised up. Will it be enough? No, they have the AoE damage from the Anchor and the Crypt. So, yeah, here in this position, they lose their only teamfight utility to get a solo pickoff, and then Invasion bounce right back, go for the Jugular, and go for that insane team fight. The Ravage had just come off cooldown when he cast it, and couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah, absolutely right about that. And now we're looking at a 6,000-ish gold lead, about 1,500 experience. Invasion furthering ahead. Yeah, taking the level chart as well, and let's take a look at item progression. What are we working on here? Nature's Prophet now has a Hand of Midas to follow the Phase Boot. Still hasn't seen too much in the way of dividends, but 1,700 gold on him, and probably the Rat Dota style that's popular now, that like Maelstrom into Blink build. Nope, Necronomicon, that's what he's going for. I guess that's a little more popular out here in the East. And it appears Tide going for the mech before Blink, has the Buckler up, and just pulling up gold for the remaining pieces. DP going for the race car build here, Blaze. Phase Boots into the drums. Possibly a Yule Scepter coming out next.
Yeah, I'd say so. There's no reason not to just continuously put that pressure. I mean, maybe you want to stack Necros and go like hardcore Necro 3 spam, but Yules is just such good utility in these fights that I think there's plenty of value in it. I guess a Void especially. You Chronos in, you Yules him, you throw him up in the air, like, you just don't care. It just makes it so easy to take these fights. Now we're going to see Fortify on both sides. The tier 1 towers are most likely going to fall on both behalfs, but Invasion just want to keep this going. Like, yes, Arrow gets something. They get a tiny, tiny foothold of gold, but Xiangzai building up the mechanism is all they're really going to get out of that, and Invasion just keep on going through in full force.
Yep, that's for sure. 5 heroes still up top. DDZ hiding behind the tree line, ready for the jump, but Rasta Ward's an Exorcism will make his life difficult. Concoction channeling off to the side, connects on DDZ. Xiangzai stealing the damage from Alchemist. He will get a pretty big damage buff here as the Static Link continues on. 140 damage going his way, but they just can't find the initiation. Rasta Ward's making quick work of the tower. And Void hopping forward. Oh, pardon me, that was a hook shot. That's not Void, that's DXB. That's a hook shot. That was brave. And won't yield any results, and luckily for him, he survives.
Yeah, just going right on in. Yeah, sometimes you gotta go ham, I guess. But unfortunately, there's no positive impact that could possibly make, and they're really reliant on making use of these ultimates now. The Chain Frost Chronosphere has to do some work in the next fight, or they might as well just AFK, because this is hardcore push coming on out. The Shadow Shaman wards, the Exorcism, they take down towers, now looking at Roche perhaps, and they're in just such an aggressive position, and DDZ won't know what hit them. Yeah,
they were thinking about Roche, but then they saw a Void in the mid lane here, and put your Voids in the air like you just don't care. An easy kill at Tidehunter secures. Chain Frost bouncing around. Could actually pick up a kill on Tide right here. It sure does. MTR makes it a 1-for-1 trade. Still advantageous for Invasion, but at least Arrow gets something out of it.
Yeah, nice little attempt from MTR. He broke the channels like we were talking about earlier, and he does actually get the Tide out of it as well. So even the chance to get Void out of that was worth it, but unfortunately it's a costly cooldown. 2 minutes unavailable. I mean, 2 minutes, that's every outer tier tower on the map.
Yeah, definitely so. Now, I want to ask you about this Hand of Midas pickup on DDZ. It makes me a little nervous here, just because they're forced to take all these fights, and generally Midas is not an item you want when you're forced to take fights early on.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a Mask of Madness, and I think that's the item that you have to parallel it with. And essentially just the pros and cons. Midas means that their late game is I mean, it's going to come faster, but right now I think that it's more important for them to stop the bleeding, and I would have preferred something like a Mom. We do see nice little pick off here. Catch a Gimba going down, and that is going to be a hefty sum of gold going to Clockwork. His Blade Mail already up.
Yep, and an Invisibility Rune will also spawn in the bottom position. I think Mirana will be the one to pick it up. So, well, they pick off the Death Prophet. They don't get much else out of it. There won't be a tower push or anything following, but certainly won't complain about a free kill here. And with DP down, they can feel safe for at least the next 15 seconds that not much pushing will come their way. Looks like the Courier will head over to the side shop here and actually grab a Vitality booster. So Ketchik doing something a little bit different than we were both thinking, and not the full-out race car. Instead, he'll tank up a little bit.
DDZ looking for an opening here. He has the Chrono on one only, and he's going to get stunned out of this, I believe. The arrow will come through, though, will finish off the Shadow Shaman, and they do have the reinforcements.
Now Tide has a Ravage available, looking for the opening, connects on 4.
Wow.
Where's the follow-up, though? Exorcism already deployed, and they will chase down Zhang Zai. It appears he'll be the target of choice. The Crypt Swarm actually misses, but it doesn't matter. They'll have enough damage to bring him down despite the TP. Mosin now hiding in the trees, trying to TP out. Rasta will burn wards just for a solo Clockwork, but he finds it. It ends as a 2-for-0 exchange, though all of the big cooldowns from Invasion have been burned.
Still think they can go for Roshan here if they use the Treants appropriately, but it looks like they want to try to get some map damage. They're going to go pressure back DDZ, stop him from farming, take his tier 2, and just give them less space to work with here.
Yep, DDZ will just back out. Arrow flies through, just hits one of the creeps, and the Forest has been summoned as this tower falls pretty quickly. The Lich Armor adding 5 additional armor to the tower, helping to slow down the push, but ultimately not really stopping it. Concoction does connect onto Faceless Void. Down comes the Acid Spray, and they've got the burst damage to bring him down. Ketchik will secure it with one more Crypt Swarm, and that will be the end of this Tier 2 tower. Moonlight Shadow comes out, and they will try to make a hold. Buyback from the Void. Death Prophet will finish off the Clockwork. Now Zhang Zai in the middle of the fray. Seems to be the target of choice. They'll pick off the Tide Hunter, and now will make the retreat. Arrow flies through, hits FZ, and Alchemist, he'll be hard-pressed to survive this one. And, yep, down he goes.
Bash, 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 no. Only one hit coming through. No RNG trying to bring down his opponent. So the TP will escape. The arrow was fortunate, Mosin, actually getting somebody out of that. Because, honestly, they don't really have much chase right now other than, like, the Mirana's Pursuit. Like, the Raze was quick on his feet. The Void has Time Walk. But they really only were able to clean up one more for that buyback. So it worked out, but they lost their tier 2, and the Void buying back essentially nullifies what the Midas has developed for him thus far.
Yeah, I think kind of a questionable buyback. He had the Chrono available, so I see the thought process, but just never really got to do anything with it. Ended up being kind of some wasted gold there. Some hard-earned gold at that.
The team wanted to pick a fight that he needed to buy back for that fight, but I question the fact that they took it in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably a more appropriate way to articulate it. But here we go. Chronosphere on 1, just the Shadow Shaman, but Tide will mech him up. And Shadow Shaman almost survives, but Lich will finish him off with 1 Frost Nova. DDZ taking a lot of damage, just take a few tower shots. Will make it out. DXB throwing some cogs, trying to distract them, and his efforts will be successful as DDZ does Time Walk and survives. So just a kill on this Shadow Shaman. They're really picking on this poor Rasta. 4, 4, and 3. And that's the second time we've seen, or is it even the third time now we've seen a solo Chrono just for him.
They really just wants to prevent the wards coming down on the tower at any point, because as soon as the wards drop, everything's gone. But unfortunately, without a Chrono, your fight's already done anyways. Like, they lose this tower so quickly to the Necronomicon as well as the Exorcism, and there's no more towers left to give. It's going to be Roche and then High Ground next time around. You really have to worry about that CD. At least now he's level 11, so Void does have the shorter cooldown, significantly shorter actually. It's down to 100 seconds, and we'll be back up in just 40. But it's a really tough game to come back from in this position. They'll turtle it out with Rocket Flare spam, so on and so forth. But right now, it's got to be just absolutely immaculate positioning and timing, at least until DDZ picks up the BKB, which is quite a long ways off.
Yeah, absolutely. He has just the Ogre Club, so a lot of farming that needs to commence before he'll have that big item pickup. How's our Radiant side doing in terms of core items? You mentioned the level 3 Necro Book on Nature's Prophet, and now just a Mithril Hammer, so probably the Maelstrom, but we'll see where he wants to go from here. Could possibly be a Desolator as well if they just want to cut through those structures. DP stopped off for a Vitality Booster, but then went right back for the Yule's Scepter, so it will be the race car. Just a slightly bigger and tankier race car. And
Still
that's
effective, yeah.
Yep, and that's about it in terms of item progression, but yeah, I like this build from DP. Just very well-rounded. I think the drums are the key facet. You know, need that little bit of extra stats. If you just go for the phase boot straight into Yule's, you're just a little too squishy, I think.
And I think the Vitality Booster follows the same vein of thought here.
Yeah.
Dropping all of his item on the ground. He is really wanting the Arcane Boot value here, but yeah, now going in. He's got his full mana. He's got his haste rune. They're ready to rumble.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of enemies on the map, so it wasn't that risky, but that's still pretty scary, just dropping your whole inventory like that.
You even dropped the Vitality Booster, which can't even like possibly help you out. But,
but DXB, he will get caught in some trouble here. The smoke is revealed. They'll throw out the concoction to get things started. Silence, acid spray, and all the right clicks under the sun. Bring down the clockwork. Of all the heroes to get picked off, not really ideal for Arrow. Of course, Void is their big kahuna in terms of turtling, but that hookshot is pretty crucial in terms of the initiation and taking some of the focus off of Void to get things started. Glyph available for Arrow. They could possibly make a hold. DDZ comes in, pops the Chrono straight onto the Shadow Shaman, but the wards have already come down. Some damage has been done. Now Zhang Zai in trouble. He just gets destroyed as the Exorcism gets popped. Now they turn their sights onto the tower. Glyph is used. So even though they picked off the Shadow Shaman, the ward's down, they're still doing a lot of damage. Chain Frost bouncing around like crazy. Ghost will finally stop it as he Delta splits from that one range creep. Concoction will zone out the Mirana. Tier 3 tower falls. Now the racks are exposed. DXB has rejoined the party. He's already used the hookshot, though, and didn't achieve much. We'll take a silence. Melee racks down. Range racks to fall shortly after. And this will be a very successful fight here for Team Invasion.
Yeah, Vini Vidi Vici. They just move in and take what's theirs. They
didn't even ravage for that.
No, they absolutely didn't need to because of the fact that Arrow were not really synchronized in their abilities. Lich was level 10 for the first half of the fight, so Void goes in, they get the kill on the Shadow Shaman. That puts Lich to level 11, but by then, like, he didn't have the mana, and it's just like it didn't feel like that was the time. Like, the fact that Clockwork started out dead was bad enough, but the fact that Lich was just shy of level 11 and didn't have enough mana to Chain Frost in the first place, it just made it a very awkward engagement. So they couldn't hold it, even without the Ravage being expunged, and now they go out, farm once more. They don't even need Aegis to take the high ground. Like, that's impressive in of itself.
Yeah, that is definitely true. Roshan's still standing 22 minutes in. He's just hanging out there. So Invasion will retreat for now and farm up, get back to normal. It is a Maelstrom coming out for the Nature's Prophet, and Death Prophet just moving into what will be a Bloodstone. Soul Booster already complete. Invisibility Rune on. And Keshik pressing forward, just scouting it out. I'll be a little surprised if Invasion don't go for Roche, but I guess they don't really have to. Now that there's a Blink Dagger on Tide, Exorcism's back up, Rasta Wards are back up as well. Maybe that's just wasted time.
No, I think if they go in for the tier 3 and mid, they're at least putting an unnecessary risk there. If they can get a pick into a Roshan or just get enough wards and comfort across the map that they know that they're not going to be contested in it, they can just win this game outright, I believe. But still, there's plenty of hope for Arrow with this long-term progression of DDZ. It's been a long time coming. I even bought back, and that delayed him significantly, but soon enough, he will have this BKB. We'll see if it's fast enough.
Yeah. He's about 500 gold away from the recipe, farming away as Invasion do a 5-hero smoke and rotate towards the mid lane.
Yeah, he can't even afford to buy a TP scroll right now. Like, he might have to sell the bottle.
No. Oof.
Like,
they doubled back, but he time walked back, and if they'd initiated on him in the mid lane, that would have been a pretty easy kill, I think, without a time walk to make it out.
But if he sells the bottle, he has the BKB, but still wards Exorcism. How do you fight against this?
Yeah, no glyph available this time either. This tower is certain to fall. And yeah, Arrow are asking the same question right now. Void will hop forward. There's the Chronosphere, but will he be able to do it? BKB popped, focusing on the Death Prophet. She'll survive, gets off the Yules, and gets mech'd up. The mega kill streak now coming out for Ghost. They lose their Rasta, but as long as he gets the wards down, that's all that matters. Void gets picked off. A buyback now on the Rasta, pardon me, on the Razor. And top lane of Rax will fall. It just doesn't matter. And I think we could honestly be moments from a GG here. What can Arrow do to stop this push?
I mean, this is elimination. You got to fight it out, but at this stage, it's just too much. They got a great chrono into Chain Frost, but the problem is it was a creep wave and a half, plus the Treants, plus the Necronomicon. Like, it hit creeps more than it hit heroes, and it's only got those 10 bounces. So in that position, if it was heroes alone, they actually probably would have won that fight. But with all those darn creeps, there's absolutely nothing that they could do to stop Invasion, and they can honestly just farm away this game if they want to, choke them out with the fact that the mega creeps are constantly pushing in their base and giving less income, and then take Roche for the win.
Yep. I think you're exactly right. With 2 lanes of Rax down, it's usually a pretty rough road to recovery. And Faceless Void had his BKB that fight, but even BKB isn't going to save you this game. Rasta wards as well as the DP spirits all do physical damage, so the other problem is, too, with the Exorcism, as long as DP can survive the duration of the chrono and doesn't get bursted down in the first, like, second she gets caught, the Ghosts do the work for her.
Absolutely, and how do you bring her down? With the Tide behind her, with the fact she's got Atos, Bloodstone, Yules, and Drum. Like, it's not just mobility that she acquires from these items, it's a huge amount of teamfight survivability. She can at least delay her demise for a good 10 seconds, even when they are focusing her, and that just causes some real difficulty. Now they've bought back, now they've lost everything, and it's going to have to take a massive throw for Invasion to lose this one.
Yeah, 2200 or 2100 HP up on the DP. She is pretty darn tanky for only 26 minutes into this game. Nature's Prophet now has a full Mjolnir, has upgraded that Maelstrom, and a Blink Dagger on the Shadow Shaman. So those big core items are continuing to come out for Invasion. On the Dire side, we haven't really seen too much item progression. Razor trying desperately to get his BKB, but Zhang Zai really struggling to find that needed farm. Meanwhile, in the Roche Pit, Team Invasion move in, and Arrow don't seem too privy to it. They actually, Dire do have a ward down outside of the pit. They know. It gets scattered out by the rocket, but can they contest? The answer is no.
Too little too late. That was the last straw, I think. I mean, they were already in a desperate position, but that second life on the Death Prophet, the only thing that they can really take solace in is that Exorcism was just used, but they've still got a good 15-20 seconds of it, and they're going to try to make the most of it here in mid.
Yeah, they're just going to go straight for the tier 3. Sort of questionable timing. I don't know if that was a misclick or if he thought they were going to jump in and wanted to make sure he had the ultimate up for the Void, but we'll see DDZ offer on the side, and will pop the chrono on 3, focuses down the Shadow Shaman. Not a bad kill. Hook shot will be off the mark, and he time walks back up to the high ground. A decent hold from Arrow so far. He picks off the Rasta before the wards come down, so it was definitely a worthy kill. And now Exorcism has expired. I think Invasion will be forced to back out.
Yeah,
so
no
big
words,
plays
no
from DDZ. Buys his team some time.
Yeah, you usually don't look for chronos in that kind of position. You look for the funnel choke point right down the steps, but by then it's too late. So that was actually a really smooth move from DDZ, and the fact that he has the BKB means he can't be punished for it. Gets the pickoff he needs, gets out, and I gotta say, that really bought them some time.
It really did. So Exorcism, yeah, 50 seconds. Basically, they have to wait another 50 seconds. So I think we'll see Invasion group up and commence that push sooner rather than later, now that Rasta's back up. And even there's an armlet up on the Alchemist now, so we talked about that during the draft. When you start to pull ahead and you get all these towers, Alchemist now he's getting a little bit more scary. His right clicks are getting faster and harder, as he is also level 11, and Chemical Rage is a bit more potent.
Push in here should be the death push, but we've seen greater miracles happen from lesser teams. Arrow, an amazing team that has been able to accomplish so much in their progression over the past year. Yes, they're running with 2 stand-ins, and this has been a difficult matchup for them, but with everything on the line, they'll go for broke.
Yep. This time Rasta wards come down. There is a glyph available, and that will buy them some time. They pop it straight away. Moonlight Shadow used as well. How do they initiate this? Tower taking heavy damage. They've got to do it soon if they want to make a stand. BKB on the Razor has already been used. Static Link onto the Alchemist will only grab about 50 damage. And now Invasion go to reinitiate. Tier 3 tower's gone down. Silence onto the Clockwork. Ravage flies through as well. DDZ gets caught by it as he hops in. That's a Hex. He'll pop his BKB. It's a defensive Chrono as he tries to make the retreat. And now Arrow is in big trouble. We see the Chain Frost bouncing around. Doesn't do a hell of a lot. DXB gets caught. Keshik very well may fall right here. Maybe not. Razor gets hexed and he goes down. Now the racks are fair game. GG, well played. Invasion will take the best of 3 series 2-1 after a convincing game 3 here of all-in push.
Radiant victory.
Absolutely. Well played to them. It's really them finding their timing, finding their momentum, and really going with the lineup that they were expecting. Like, we've talked about in the draft, the Tidehunter, Death Prophet, and Nature's Prophet all in one did seem a little greedy, and even the Alchemist and Shadowtime, like you said, aren't slouches as far as requirements for income, but they got all those kills. Like, it was 5 for 1 in the first, 6 or 7 minutes of the game, and then tower after tower fell. It's just, they found their timing, and unfortunately, Arrow, they didn't use their ultimates as efficiently as they could have, so it cost them dearly. They do lose this game, and as a result, lose the match.
Yeah. Well, that's the end of our second series. A nail-biter till the bitter end, but Invasion will take it, and that'll be the end of Arrow's run in this tournament. Coming up next, Blaze, we've got Team Zephyr versus the new Johnny +4. JR, Johnny's Revenge, if you will. Should be a good one. We'll have another quick break, and then coming up soon, it's actually scheduled to start in 2 minutes. So we'll probably have a 5-10 minute break or so, and then our next best of 3 series will get underway. I'm Zayori. The voice on the other end of the microphone is Blaze. Both of our Twitters are in the title of this broadcast, at Zayori TV and at Blaze Casting. Make sure you follow at Beyond the Summit as well. We'll see you guys in a few minutes for Zephyr versus Johnny's Revenge.